This is CNY Decides from WAER and Central Current. I'm Bob Beck. Each week in this show, we'll delve into issues and topics we're following this election season. Joining me now is Central Current's Eddie Velazquez to discuss the Democratic battle for an at-large Syracuse Common Council seat. Eddie, thanks so much for coming back.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
Well, let's talk about this seat a little bit. It's an at-large seat, which means it encompasses the entire city. Should we assume this primary would likely be a tough one for Republicans to win?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's a stretch to say that whomever emerges victorious from this Democratic primary will have a very, very good shot at winning in the general in November. Just the latest city numbers that I saw from the Onondaga County Board of Elections have 55 registered Democrats, 55% of registered voters in the city are Democrats versus 13% registered Republicans. So you can kind of see the breakdown there.
Not to say this is out of the range for a Republican upset if somebody did something wrong, but it's probably a winner-take-all this time.
It certainly looks that way.
So you've got three candidates. The appointed incumbent is no stranger to the office. Helen Hudson served for several years, left for a medical issue, and has returned. She's got a background dealing with youth. Has that been mainly her focus?
Yeah, based on some more recent public comments that she's just put out there, it kind of looks like she wants to continue that lifetime of service that she's had and really preparing the next generation of Syracuse leaders. And she's done some of that throughout her career with the Pathways to Apprenticeship initiative that she had through United Way of Central New York, which is her day job or was for a long time. And that one directs unemployed youth or underemployed youth toward careers in construction trades. So, yeah.
She's talked, obviously, because she's been there a long time probably, but worked on housing issues. I think outside of her council duties also has some work with housing. Tell us a little bit about her thoughts there.
Yeah, I mean, she has spoken publicly about how this is the number one issue facing the city at this moment. She's talked about seeing rows and rows of vacant properties and properties in disrepair while those could be serving the population that is in need of housing. So, that is something she really wants to focus on. And one of the recent salient topics in sort of the housing discourse in the council has been good cause eviction, just a local law that advocates say would help folks remain in their homes. And so she recently expressed support for the bill and said that had been inspired by conversations with tenants and that was a recently acquired perspective. So it sounds like she came around on that bill after talking to tenants for some time.
And one last thing on her budget is going to continue to be kind of an issue with the revenue situation in the city. Or where's she on that? What to do about that?
Yeah, I mean, she was very concise about that and said that she wants to look at every department and find efficiencies and redundancies and have a transparent and open budget process that is also inclusive. So I think she wants to kind of continue the current trajectory of the council in that regard.
Chela Surratt, a business owner downtown, appeared to be very active in the community from what you've written. Tell us a little bit about her.
Yes, she's a longtime business owner in downtown area, the Black Citizens Brigade store, which is a vintage clothing and music and bookstore. And it also has programming for arts and culture and community education. So there's a little bit of everything there. And that is very reflective of her career in that she has always worked from the policy side when it comes to arts and culture. She's been on boards at organizations across the city and the region. So that is sort of her expertise, when it comes to policymaking.
Going to a budget question for her, I just found her answer interesting. She's talking about what we would commonly call PILT actions, payment in lieu of taxes. Mm-hmm. She wants more entities, including the one we're speaking from today, Syracuse University, to contribute to the community. What's her idea there?
Yeah, she said that, when you have a property owner with a portfolio as large as, let's just keep it to Syracuse University, you have these negotiated payments. However, Chela thinks that the university could be contributing more to the city, given that they get all these services and all that stuff. So she wants to back the mayor and the council at those negotiations and really be a part of them. So she does want to push for something for those ongoing conversations with SU.
Poverty seems to be a huge issue for her.
Yeah, she mentioned some staggering figures about child poverty during our interview, and this is also something that other candidates mentioned, which is trying to make sure that there is equitable access to services, which helps, address sort of things level by level. So if you have good housing, it is, less likely that you'll encounter issues with child poverty, and so you kind of go through some of those problems and address them piece by piece until people are stable.
Moise Lob, interested in running after getting laid off. What's his story?
Yeah, he is a Navy veteran, originally from Haiti, and he landed in Syracuse through his military service and became an employee of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Last year, he found himself in a position where he was laid off by the department, and it got him thinking, well, maybe I have some access to some relief after being laid off, severance and things like that. But it got him thinking how many Syracusans are in a position where, whether or not they have that same access to some relief, they may not know about it. So he wanted to make sure that folks don't find themselves in those positions where they're really struggling, thinking at night, how am I going to make it after this layoff, right? So that really pushed him to run for this position.
He does have an interest in poverty, but he also has a couple of specific interests. One we haven't heard the others talk about, that's childcare, which is really an issue for young workers, and then transportation issues he wants to address.
Yeah, I think, in that way, Surratt and Lob sort of looked at it in a very similar way. They wanted to have sort of like a leveled playing field at which folks can sort of start living and building their lives. So he was saying, let's make sure that everyone's transportation needs are covered, that their childcare needs are covered, because that will allow folks to really start leveling up and, get better economic opportunities. If you're not worried about those very basic things, then you have a better chance at pursuing education and economic development. So that's kind of how he was looking at it.
His knowledge on housing issues also interesting. Tell us about his background there and what he wants to do about that.
So he is a recent homeowner, I think within the last 2 years, but he is also the president of the board of directors of Syracuse Cooperative Federal. So that, he has had sort of a front row seat to, folks getting their first home loan, to purchase their first homes, financial education for folks who are looking into home ownership. So he has that, the lived experience, years as a renter, home ownership now, and he wants to kind of be that bridge of like, I can speak to sort of all these different constituencies when it comes to housing. So I think he's really hoping to draw from those lived experiences.
Big picture here, we've got Hudson, who probably has more name recognition than the other two. Did the other two happen to mention how they'll combat that?
Yeah, I think, Surratt mentioned that she is banking on her familiarity with the city, with the decision makers at the city level, but also her work in policy advocacy. She knows folks at the state level, at the federal level. So, that sort of knowledge of the ins and outs of policy, she's really hoping that she can draw on that as like a, something that she can hang her hat on for experience. And Lob is sort of taking it as a, I'm the underdog, and that means I can speak to all sorts of different constituencies. I can relate to a lot of them. So I think you have those two different approaches to kind of mitigate that.
He also seems like a guy who might want to get his name out there for future races as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely very possible. I think he just seems very interested in public office. So I wouldn't rule that out for sure.
Eddie, thanks so much as always.
Yeah, likewise.
And thank you for joining us for this episode of CNY Decides. Join us next week as we bring you another Civics 101 installment and more. The Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University is a supporter of CNY Decides. The series is a joint effort by Central Current and WAER. An extended version of this segment is available at waer.org.